House committees will begin debating President Trump's big, beautiful tax and budget bill this week. And on Friday night, House Republicans released a draft of their tax proposals. That version is expected to cost nearly $5 trillion, according to the Joint Committee on Taxation. President Trump this week told Republicans to raise taxes on some of the wealthiest Americans, maybe to offset some of those costs. But on Friday, in a social media post, the president seemed to backtrack and back down, acknowledging there could be some political fallout. Writing on Truth Social, in any event, Republicans should probably not do it, but I'm okay if they do.
Wow.
Whatever that means. Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Brendan Boyle of Pennsylvania. He is the ranking member of the House Budget Committee and also serves on the Ways and Means Committee, which writes the tax part of this bill. Congressman Boyle, thank you so much for joining us. My first question for you is how you think these negotiations and discussions on Tuesday will likely end up affecting programs like Medicaid and food stamps, particularly since a lot of Republican voters, Trump voters, depend on them too.
Yeah, that's right. I always call Trump calls it the big, beautiful bill. Yeah, for billionaires. They are going to experience the biggest tax cut in American history. And part of the way the Republicans are paying for it is by delivering the biggest Medicaid cuts in American history, $880 billion worth, combined with the biggest cuts to SNAP, which is nutrition assistance programs in American history. That still only gets them about 25% of the way toward fully paying for the bill. The other 75% will mostly come from, surprise, surprise, Republicans adding more to the national debt in order to pay for their deep tax cuts that we can't afford. This is one of the most fiscally irresponsible bills in American history, combined with the fact that they will be doing real harm to the American people, especially those who get their health care from Medicaid, the majority of whom live in red states.
Does that mean Democrats will be withholding their votes then?
That's probably the easiest question to answer. I like answering easy questions. Not one Democrat voted for this in the first round when the first step of reconciliation passed the House a few weeks ago. I can pretty confidently predict right here and now that not one Democrat will support this Republican-only effort to deliver these dramatic tax cuts for billionaires at the expense of mostly the working poor and middle-class Americans.
Let me ask a slightly harder version of Antonia's question then. Congressman Boyle, you released a statement, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, that sounded like it was criticizing Republicans for being willing to raise the debt limit in order to potentially make this bill go through. But the debt limit needs to be raised no matter what, according to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who said that we are going to hit our so-called X date this summer. Are you critical of the Republicans for potentially being willing to raise the debt limit? And are you saying that Democrats will not vote for that particular piece of legislation? Again, raising the debt limit so we can pay our bills.
Yeah, so I'm happy to address this and clear up any misconceptions, because there are a few things here. First, I would draw a pretty clear distinction between preemptively voting to raise the debt ceiling in order to provide trillions of dollars worth of tax cuts preemptively for mostly the top 1% of Americans. That's very different than raising the debt ceiling in order to pay for debt that Congress has already voted to accrue, oftentimes years in the past. The second thing, though, is, as you may know, I'm the author of the Debt Ceiling Reform Act. I believe we need a permanent resolution to the absolute insanity that is the debt ceiling. Really, I mean, aside from Switzerland, no other country on earth actually even has this concept that Congress first votes to appropriate funds and then years later has a separate vote to decide that once the credit card bill is in, whether or not we'll pay for it.
Congressman, let me, if I can, get your thoughts on this new post from Donald Trump on Truth Social, and feel free to pass on it if you're not aware. But he just posted a short time ago that he's going to make a major announcement about pharmaceutical prices in this country. I'm going to read a part of it. He says, "I am pleased to announce that tomorrow morning in the White House at 9 a.m., I'll be signing one of the most consequential executive orders in our country's history. Prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced almost immediately by 30 to 80%. I've got a lot of thoughts about this, but I just want to get your general reaction to him making this sudden and unexpected announcement on a Sunday evening.
Well, let's be clear. God created the Republican Party in order to deliver tax cuts for billionaires and big corporations. So I will take with many grains of salt the idea that Donald Trump is actually going to do something on drug prices. Number two, let's not forget that for the first time in American history, the ability of Medicare to be able to negotiate the cost of prescription drugs was because of Democrats doing it under Joe Biden and a Democratic Congress. Republicans fought us every step of the way and are still opposed to that very concept. Third and finally, I would just remind us, most of these executive orders that Donald Trump has signed are de facto press releases that don't actually have the force of law. So if he's actually really going to do something about bringing down the cost of prescription drugs, whether they're through Medicare, Medicaid, or the private market, you actually have to do that in terms of an act of Congress that is signed by the president.
Can I ask how Democrats are planning to respond to this news that this administration is preparing to accept a jumbo luxury jet in the coming days from the Qatari government? I mean, what can actually be done here? I know people have already been talking about how unconstitutional this may be, but realistically, like, where will the buck stop, and what will Dems do in the face of what a lot of voters are starting to see as just sort of blatant and disrespectful corruption?
You know, I give Donald Trump credit. He is the greatest grifter in American history. It is remarkable, not just the level of corruption of this presidency, and in particular the last 4 months, but the fact it is so open and so brazen. I know that many people at this point might be numb to this. We can never allow ourselves to get numb. And even if polls show it's not the most, it's not the issue that's top of mind for most voters, I'm sorry, right and wrong still matter. We have to pursue this legally in the courts. We have to raise public awareness. It is absolutely remarkable, the record levels of corruption that we are seeing.
Congressman Brendan Boyle, thank you so much for joining us. I know a lot of voters, a lot of your constituents are going to be looking to see how the party responds.